Okay, HMR here. One key central thing that keeps people stuck, thinking about wanting to, reverse Hoover or hoping for a Hoover, going through on and off relationship cycles with an ex with BPD or somebody who ghosted you or whatever the situation, relationships for those who are now exes or considering maybe you have to leave a relationship. A key thing that really keeps people stuck is thinking, still believing that you still need to help them, that there's something you can do to help them, there's something you can do to get them into therapy, there's something you can do to change them. This is, I think, fits in with the last video I did. Why are people struggling so hard, even if they are no contact now, or partially no contact, as we're finding out a lot of people are? I am with clients, etc., and comments to the channel, which is understandable. Well, so this is another reason why people are always wanting to say, well, I need to tell them because, that is, like I said in the last video I alluded to, it's a desire. It's now a cognitively distorted belief, but it's a very emotional, compelling feeling, emotionally, that this could work if only they would get therapy. This could work if only I could do it differently. It would work if only the relationship would work and it would last if only I could help them more. Maybe I wasn't caring enough. Maybe I wasn't sensitive enough. Maybe I didn't give enough. Maybe if I just couldn't have got angry in that one place or several times. Or, maybe if I just would have realized that they were struggling as hard as they are with what they're struggling with, which is a multitude of things. This is one of the things that keeps people stuck. It's all these thoughts, right? And then when you think all these thoughts and you feel all these feelings that drive all these thoughts, next thing you know, you're really missing them. So you can go from feeling stronger if you're in no contact or semi-no contact, whatever the case is, or working on going full no contact, or you've just gone full no contact. But the feelings are getting really hard to deal with, and you're really maybe worried, or maybe you've got to no contact before and you've slid back and you've opened up the gate, or whatever vehicle for contact again. This is not only denial, not only cognitive dissonance, emotional dissonance, sometimes Stockholm Syndrome, and a variety of things, but it's also false hope. It's a whole bunch of things that have to do with how people who are the exes now, or the on and off, or don't know what's going on, or maybe just got ghosted, or however long into this, some people are brand new to it, and they just got ghosted, and now what? Some people it's been going on for weeks, months, for some people even a couple of years. And maybe you've had some on and off. Maybe you've tried to be friends. Check out my live stream on why that doesn't work, and that's not a good idea to be friends with an ex with BPD. Well, you have a belief that's driving a lot, which is if only I could. If only I could get them into therapy, if only, all those if onlys. And the other part of this too really is, chemically speaking, right? So the chemical soup that is physiologically impacting with these relationships, and when you feel when you love someone and you've been hurt by someone and really let down by them, and you've done everything you possibly can, but you still think to yourself, but I didn't do enough. And that's how a lot of people feel. And all of these feelings end up in all of these thoughts. They get you ruminating on them again, but get you in this place of so missing them, right? And especially when people go no contact or whatever, it's it feels unbearable. And often in live streams, and when I talk to clients, people say, well, it's 3 days now since we're no contact. It's 4 days, they're marking them off the calendar. That isn't really a good idea. It's important to keep track and to celebrate each day, but it's really better to be more mindful, not to keep sort of having it on your mind when at all possible not to. So the other thing is the reality and codependency of love addiction. So many people are as much in love with being in love and being in a relationship with codependency as they are with how much you love this person. But remember, you love somebody who isn't really who you thought they were. You love somebody who really doesn't exist in that sense. And then there's this incredible drive that continues for people with codependency for quite a while after. And no contact is the way to help this and to move forward from this. But with still contact, it's very, very difficult. And it's that, just the whole idea again that this was supposed to work. That, partly also that you could get that person back, that they must be in there somewhere. Like I've done videos on, like, this is when people with codependency are actually in love with the potential of a person who may or may not ever find out who they are or fulfill that potential. But it'll be way down the road. It'll be a lot of years from now if they're untreated. Many people are with people with BPD, and I really have, I know from clients, and, I don't know the people on live streams, but I know from clients that they know what they're talking about. So they suss out what's going on, right, with help and information online. Well, but a lot of these people aren't necessarily diagnosed with BPD yet. So you got not only the untreated, but the undiagnosed. That's not in every case. But what is driving people to the edge of their own emotional coping, and maybe over the edge sometimes, in codependency for the ex of somebody with BPD, is all this woulda, coulda, shoulda, but it's massively the if only, coupled with love addiction, coupled with, for people with codependency, you are still focusing on them, thinking about them, longing for them, pining for them, having all these feelings for them, wanting to reach back and should I tell them or shouldn't I tell them? Because it's a desperation in a way, with all due respect, because you're not ready to let go. You're not finished. You don't want it to be over. Now, many people got to a stage where they're like, okay, I wouldn't take him or her back, whatever. But lots of people aren't there. And it's really hard to know if you're really there. Because if you get a Hoover, you might think you're there, and then all of a sudden you're not there. People are trying to jump to date someone else really quickly, which is not a good idea. It's usually a recipe for the next BPD or cluster B. So the thing is, codependents are avoiding what they need to do for themselves. It's an avoidance of self in codependency. Why? Not only, but that's what's really driving all this sort of can't stop thinking, ruminating about them, missing them, don't want to go no contact. What's really driving all that is something from your childhood. It's an unaddressed wound inside of you as a person with codependency. And so there's a multi-layered reality to that. You are missing this person, but it's not all about that person. But to you, it may well seem like it is all about that person. So that's how I work with clients to really help them to understand that and to go through the process of, inner child healing work and other things, to be able to really look at how similar, in most people's cases, issues are to something in childhood. And it doesn't mean that you had to have had a mother with BPD or a father with BPD, but lots of people have had a cluster B parent that end up in a relationship with somebody with BPD or a narcissist and have codependency because the roots are sown in childhood. So all of these feelings and all of this drive for codependence to keep thinking about the if only this, that, the other thing, all those things that you probably know so well in your own head, unfortunately, what you think about often. And then for some, it's the feelings of really missing, really longing for this person, because it is an addiction of sort, right? It's like you're in withdrawal. And that's why no contact is so important. And to not only go for no contact, maintain it, because it's like as if the person was a drug and you took the drug again, you'd be back at square one, you'd have to start over. The reality is that as much as you really believe today that it's all about this person with BPD that you were in the relationship with, the person that you fell in love with, the person that you met, the person that you thought they were, all that potential that you've seen it can't really be right now or isn't who they are, well, you're avoiding, people with codependency are avoiding their own pain. And why would you be doing that? Because you're in so much pain thinking about your ex with BPD or the on again, off again, whatever happening? Well, because you've been programmed that way. Codependency, the roots of codependency in childhood are largely about pursuing a parent to have needs met that aren't being met, whatever that might mean or look like. It's very different for lots of people with codependency, and there are degrees and depths of things that are adverse childhood experience that really create this unhealthy relational style of codependency that lands so many people in these relationships with people with BPD or NPD or ASPD. And so the thing is, there's more you need to know about yourself. But as compelling as this is, and as horrifically painful as it is, and as much as you're focused on the ex with BPD, it is not as much about them as you might think. And this is what I help clients out with, because when we get into the work, when they get into doing the work, they realize that there's something else that is really the larger part, if I could put it that way, of all that pain being felt about the ex with BPD or even an ex with NPD, because it's really not all about that person. But that's who people with codependency have put all their energy and focus in to escape something that may well be in your unconscious, or could be closer in your subconscious, but it's not conscious. And this is what I've said before in other videos. When you are attracted to that person, yes, adult male is attracted to adult female, and that's what you look like, each of you, or adult female to adult female, or adult male to adult male, whatever the case is. But the inner child, the wounded inner child, is attracted on a unconscious level for very different reasons, and it's familiarity with something, and it is what causes the most pain, and it is what's at the heart of this pain for people who become, have relationships with people with BP, then become the ex. And now you're sitting there going like, and for some people, it's different for everybody. So you could be a day out. You could be 2 weeks into no contact. You could be just having been ghosted recently. You might have just left a relationship, or it could be months or even a year or more later, and people are still really struggling. And it's because codependency becomes in childhood, where the roots of it are sown, and why you have codependency and this unhealthy relational pattern that it in itself is, becomes about pursuing something that you needed for survival or emotional safety, pursuing a parent. And now you can't stop pursuing, in a way, at least in your mind, even if you're trying to be no contact and you think you're done. The pain is like stuck and blocked grief, because people are still longing for, still, it's really something coming up from your inner child, your inner child rising, but maybe to the subconscious level only, not fully to consciousness, without working with someone to look at all of this. And so it's really key that you understand this does take time, and it does take you making healthy choices for you, and it does take no contact for so many people. And of course, if there are children involved, well, it should be no contact except for the co-parenting. So nothing in between exes, like about anything else. So this is really, really difficult, really painful. And I think some people with codependency think, well, codependency, okay, so I'm a bit of a codependent, or I've got codependency, but please don't minimize it, because it is huge in the sense of why you are a codependent, what happened in your childhood. It doesn't have to be something horrible that happened in your childhood, but it was enough that it wounded you as a young child, and now you carry that woundedness in your inner child. And when people look back at it as an adult, it's like, it doesn't seem like such a big deal. But that's where, if you resonate with me and you'd like to work with me, or you find someone else to work with, that's where that's really important to do that work. So it's not that, BPD is contagious or anything like that. People with BPD aren't narcissists, etc. It's just, it's what's going on inside of you why you're having so much trouble letting go. It's not really so much about the person, the ex with BPD, as you might think. And you might think, wow, that sounds nuts. What do you mean? Well, think about it for a while, though. It's really true. And people who get into healing and recovery journeys, and I know clients I work with, they come to realize this sooner rather than later, and it can save a lot of pain. So it's really important to try to first understand this if you don't already. And even if you do, then you have to start making smaller choices to make changes each and every day, to not just allow yourself to be in the narrative that, your thoughts, which you may or may not be aware of, are driving the emotions of this constant longing, constant ruminating, constant thinking about them, or very, predominant times of thinking about them, with a sense of longing and like you can't let go and like it's never going to feel better. So it's really a lot about all of this is one central core aspect of it. And there are many other moving pieces of it as well. But people need to know that when you continue to long and you are blocked and like from the grief, or, like you're just longing for them and missing them and really wanting them back, that there's more than two things happening. But one is you're still thinking of the person, like if only I could do more and give more, and that type of thing. And the other thing is, and codependents are actively engaging their own pain and their own process. So like you want to be free of the pain. You might still be wishing the relationship would work out, but you need to let go of that. You need to know it's not going to work out. It's, what you've been through, and now it's time to turn and get into recovery and healing with someone. And like I'm out here, if I resonate with you, and get into the work that will take you forward. Because codependents often don't realize the degree to which you focus on the exit BPD and the longing and the ruminating is the degree to which you really are trying to avoid your own pain and your own self. And you deserve to be guided through that, to be helped through that process, and to know yourself better and to heal your own pain and to be free from all of this. And you can be. So take care.